Welcome on in, Chicago sports fans. I am your host, Adam Karnick, back here with you for another episode of Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio. That was a frustrating experience last night for the Bears, wasn't it? Frustrating because it was all too familiar in all the worst ways. We will break down that game. We will talk about the good things. There were some good things. We will also talk about the frustrating things. Are there good times in store? Are there good things in sight for the Bears upcoming? We will break that down. We will discuss. We'll try to put a good spin on that overall. And I mean that in the best way. Elsewhere, we've got other stuff going on. The Chicago Sky are hanging on by a thread to their playoff chances. We will break that down. They played a game yesterday, had a chance to help themselves and didn't. They've got a huge game tomorrow night and then another big one on Thursday. We'll break down those chances. And then we got some exciting college football stuff to announce. Illinois is getting noticed overall. All that plus more coming up right now here on Chi-Town Weekly on IE Sports Radio, the direct feed for all that is sport. And hello and good evening, everyone. Once again, I am your host, Adam Karnick. Glad that you are here with us tonight live over YouTube and Twitter and Instagram and back on Facebook too. All the ways that you can watch the show. Just so glad that you are here with us. Lots to be getting through in the show tonight. Going to, of course, be discussing the Bears and that game last night. Some lows, but also some highs, and we'll also try to paint a rosy picture for the game next week. We'll also be discussing the Sky of WNBA as they are trying desperately to hold on to a playoff berth there in the WNBA playoffs with 2 games remaining. And then we also have some college football that we will be discussing tonight as well. Lots to get through in the show tonight and only about another 55 minutes or so to do it. So a quick word from our sponsors, and then we will dive right in. Do not go anywhere. IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the iSports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop, including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back on into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Shout out again to our sponsors, Planet Jerky and Seal the Deal Wax Seals. You can check them out at planetjerky.net or IE Sports Radio, Seal the Deal Wax Seals. Be sure to do that. They've got some great stuff going on for you every single day. And this show is also available for you on all of the social media platforms. You can follow along this show. We are at IESRC on Twitter, or you can follow along with me personally there. I am at Adam_Karnick. So, of course, where we have to start off the show tonight, and I do want to say hello and welcome into everybody watching live, whether it is on Twitter or YouTube or Facebook or on Instagram. Welcome on into the show. Hop on into the comment section. Drop a chat there. Good evening, Taryn. And my mom and my sister and her roommate are all listening in from out in the Seattle area. Good evening to all of you. And of course, Larry B is there in the chat. Duh, Bears. Larry is just over the moon because the Raiders won a game they weren't supposed to win yesterday. They were one of several NFL underdogs that came away with the win yesterday. So Larry is just living on cloud nine, and I don't think he's going to leave there at any point for the next probably 48 hours or so. Unfortunately, the Bears were not one of those underdogs that was able to come away with the win yesterday, falling in Houston 19-13 against the Texans. In a lot of ways, this was the game I expected. I did not really think that the Bears were going to be able to win the game yesterday. That's a very, very, very good team there in Houston. That is a team that is absolutely going to be there deep into the postseason. You know, that's a team that's gonna be making noise and making waves deep into the postseason. So to expect them to really be beating the Texans, I wasn't expecting it. The Bears just aren't there yet. What my hope was that this would look like an operation where it's all right, they're not there yet, but you give them a couple months. Had this game been scheduled for, say, late November or December, that we'd be looking at going, yeah, the Bears have a real shot in this one. That was kind of my hope, was that we'd be seeing the germs of, okay, they're not there yet. This is too hard of a test. But boy, give them time and they're going to be there. This is going to be something that they're going to be ready for this sooner rather than later. And instead, what we got was what really looked like just more of the same from the offense. Caleb Williams on the day, it was obviously better than week 1 in a lot of areas. Career high in completions, in attempts, in yards. He was 5 of 5 on the first drive. He looked in rhythm. He looked on time. He was making quick decisions, and he was putting the ball where it needed to be, especially early in the game. But then the Texans started blitzing, and that led to the offensive line problems. The Bears looked yesterday like they had never seen a blitz before and had absolutely no idea how to counter it. Schematically, personnel, play call, you name it. They did not have an answer for it. And it was so beyond frustrating that they just could not come up with an answer, that they could not solve the riddle of the blitz for the Texans. Now, admittedly, the Texans were blitzing far more often than they normally do under DeMeco Ryan. You know, DeMeco made a point of, we're going to throw the kitchen sink at this kid. And it worked. The offensive line struggled, and Caleb struggled under pressure. Was only 3 of 12 throwing the ball when he was facing a blitz. He got pressured on 36 pass attempts. He only threw the ball 37 times. You know, it was more of the same from the Bears offense yesterday. And that's really disheartening, because we've seen this song and dance. We know how it ends, and we don't like it. And we want to preach patience. We're only 2 weeks into a season. But last night felt disturbingly familiar. You know, extremely disturbingly familiar. That felt like week 3 at Cleveland 2022. where Matt Nagy just threw Justin Fields to the wolves and just let him get killed. West True Blood, Braxton Jones. The entire offensive line was bad last night. That was hands down the worst game I have seen from Darnell Wright. All, in his admittedly still short NFL career, but he looked terrible. Nate Davis didn't even look like an NFL player several times out there. Barstool pointed out the one play where Davis whiffed not only on one man, he whiffed on two separate blocks on the same play. He got beat by the defensive lineman off the ball, then decided, well, the play is going the other direction anyway, and then just completely missed a linebacker. Missed two blocks on one play. Colvin Shelton continues to, and it's why were the Bears so keen on bringing him in? He just cannot adjust, adapt, or keep guys off of the quarterback. He cannot keep the pocket clean. And then Braxton Jones is what Braxton Jones is. He's a late round pick that gives you incredible effort for a late round pick. He's a serviceable offensive tackle, but he is by no means a star or stud in the making. Abagaji, we'll see if he gets to play at all this season or if the injury will preclude him from being out there. But I do wonder if they've got at least a better option there as we get down the road. But the offensive line was putrid last night, and that led to so many problems, whether it was the failure to get the running game going, the failure to get into any kind of a rhythm on offense. It starts up front. And I'm not sure how the Bears solve that particular problem. It's not the kind of thing you can fix in season. You can't, as Brad Biggs of the Chicago Tribune puts it so eloquently every week, you can't just go to the offensive line store and buy 3 new offensive linemen. You're not going to be getting anything of quality at that point. All you're going to be getting is things off the scrap heap. It's going to be not just off the rack, it's going to be off the rack, and it needs to be mended first before you can really use it. So very, very frustrating there for the Bears from last night. Yet they were in it. That's the flip side. That's the silver lining of this. The defense did turn it around after giving up scores on each of Houston's first 3 drives. The Bears defense did buckle and did buckle down and did hold the Texans offense. After giving up 13 points in the first 3 drives, they gave up 6 points the rest of the way, including just 3 points in the entire second half. And those final 6 points that they gave up were both 50-plus yard field goals. So it's conceivable they could have given up no more points. If the kicker is slightly less accurate, they don't give up anything, or they only give up one of those. The point is the defense only giving up 19. That's a win for the defense. And the Bears were in a situation where, believe it or not, on the final drive, they could have gone down and scored a touchdown and potentially won the game, which is one of the things that Eberflus and Poles criticized about Justin Fields, was that when the game was on the line, he couldn't take you down and get whatever it was you would need to get. Now, first opportunity for Caleb comes up woefully short. But he had the opportunity. We'll see. And that's really all you could have asked for. That game could have very easily been 30-13 on the final drive. That was more the game I was kind of actually expecting a little bit more of that. I think I had the final score as something like 27-17. And my thinking was the Bears would be down 27-10 with about 2.5 minutes left to go, and they would score a touchdown very late in the game to just kind of make it look better. And Wes really wanted to get on the offense's case now. And in today's NFL, if you hold the opponent under 21, you should be winning that game. I don't disagree with that statement. I would just add the caveat to it that implies that your defense, that your offense is playing competently. And yet again, the Chicago Bears offense and competence are two things that just cannot be used in the same sentence. They haven't met for one reason or another. And it needs to be something that they figure out and they solve. Now, the good news is they've got the Colts coming up now in week 3. And the Colts, after to me anyway, surprising loss in Green Bay yesterday, the Colts are 0-2. They lost to the Houston Texans, and then they lost yesterday to the Jordan Loveless Green Bay Packers. And not only did they lose, they have gotten absolutely destroyed in the running game. They have gotten absolutely torched in the running game. So the Bears need to get the running game on track. We need to see that running attack come to life. This is a great opportunity next week. The Colts it's not the home opener. It's their second home game of the season. They're 0-2, and they are getting destroyed on the ground game. And DeForest Buckner, is one of their top defensive linemen, is hurt. And there's a very good chance that he will not be able to play in this. It's not season ending, but it's enough that there's a very good chance that he will not play this week in this game. So you've got a terrific opportunity here to get the ground game on track, get the running game working, which will then take pressure off of the passing attack so that you can get into a rhythm. You can do some bootlegs, you can do some play actions, you can do more of your playbook and get into a rhythm. This is an excellent opportunity to get a road win. The Colts are favored, at least as of this morning, as well they should be. The way the Bears, how incompetently the Bears offense played last night, they shouldn't be favorites in a road game. The Colts do still have Anthony Richardson, who can be a very polarizing and very exciting player to watch, can hit some deep balls and can also miss some plays. He'll give you some. But this is one that the Bears should be in, absolutely. I don't think that they'll be able to run away with it by any means, but I do think that this is one that the Bears can go into Indianapolis and get themselves a win. There should be a lot of Bears fans there. You know, it's not a very far drive, Chicago to Indy. There should be plenty of Bears fans there to help cheer them on, get the joint rocking a little bit. Some chance of let's go Bears. So they've got an opportunity here to get right a little bit, get the ground game going, get the offensive line feeling better about itself, and then we'll reevaluate that then from there. But last night, a tough loss, an expected but still disappointing loss for the Bears overall, as they lose on Sunday Night Football 19-13 to the Houston Texans. We are going to take a quick break, and then on the flip side, we've got a team that is hanging on to their postseason lives by a thread. We will be discussing the Chicago Sky next on Chi-Town Weekly, part of IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We'll be right back after this.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's up, New York? This is Ricky K coming at you at the NY State of Sports, a new show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Listen to me every Thursday afternoon as we bring you the latest takes on the Yankees, Mets, Jets, Giants, Knicks, Nets, Rangers, Devils, and Islanders. Plus, you get some college hoops and what's the local sports events going on in the area. It's a state that never sleeps, so why not get the opinions and sports takes that never sleep? Again, every Thursday, 2 p.m. to the NY State of Sports. We'll see you then.
And welcome back on into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. So we broke down the Bears' loss against Houston in our first segment. Now we're going to shift gears a little bit, and we are going to talk about a team that is just about finishing up its regular season with some postseason opportunities still available to them, but it's going to take some work. The Chicago Sky, they had a big opportunity yesterday to try to solidify for themselves the number 8 and final spot in the WNBA playoff seeding. However, a loss to a familiar foe, the Phoenix Mercury, 93-88, prevented them from doing that. In the game yesterday, Brittany Griner, she is a problem for the Sky. The Sky just do not match up well against her. 26 points on 12 of 20 shooting from the field. Kennedy Carter did lead the Sky with 20 points. The Sky did lead this one late. They were up by 2 points in the fourth quarter, so they weren't blown out the whole way. It was a close one all the way throughout, but ultimately then just a dry spell in that fourth quarter. Only 1 point over the next basically 3.5 minutes allowed Phoenix to retake the lead and not look back. Chicago shot 44% from the field. Did out rebound Phoenix, which that's not something they typically commonly do, especially with Angel Reese being out for the Sky. But ultimately, Phoenix proved to just be too much and won the game 93-88. So now where are the Sky at? They are currently, and there are no games active tonight, so they are solidly locked into this spot. They are in a 3-way tie for the 8th and final playoff spot in the WNBA standings. And I would argue they control their own destiny. They are tied currently with Washington and with Atlanta. All three teams are 13-25 overall. However, Chicago plays the Dream tomorrow night down in Atlanta. Obviously, you win that one, you put whichever team wins that one is going to break the 3-way tie. And at the very least, it's going to be a 2-way tie at that point. But also working in Chicago's favor at that point, looking at the rest of the schedule on Tuesday night, the Mystics play host to the New York Liberty, the top team in the WNBA, and New York still has something to play for with just a couple weeks left to go in the season. The Liberty at this point, as we take a look at the full standings here in the WNBA, the Liberty are 2 games in front of Minnesota for the number 1 spot. So a win for New York guarantees for the Liberty, or a loss for Minnesota guarantees that number 1 spot for New York. So the Liberty still have something to be playing for overall, which bodes very well, meaning they're going to be taking that game against Washington as seriously as they can. So that bodes very well for the Sky. If they can take care of business against Atlanta, then very likely they will be the ones going in to Thursday night in that 8th and final spot. And it's just winning, you're in. At that point, they finish out the season, then out in Connecticut against the Sun. The Sun may not have much, if anything, to play for in that game. It depends on how Tuesday goes. They could be positioning themselves right now. Connecticut could finish anywhere between 3 and 6 overall in the standings, which that could be a big difference depending on who you could wind up facing or drawing in that first round. So they'll have something to play for tomorrow night. But when we get to Thursday, the situation could have changed. And it could very well be that Connecticut doesn't have a whole lot to play for in that game, whereas Chicago absolutely, it effectively is a playoff game for Chicago at that point. So Chicago effectively in the playoffs are right now for Chicago. They lose and it can be a big problem especially if Washington wins as well. If Washington pulls off the upset and Chicago loses, then basically it's done and it's over at that point. But so how has Chicago done against Atlanta this season? As we sit here getting ready for this crucial final game. Well, it's been a little while since they've played Atlanta. The most recent time they played was all the way back on July 2nd. So it's been 2.5 months since these two teams have played each other. The Sky won that one 85-77. That was still during the midst of Angel Reese's double-double streak. That was her 11th consecutive double-double. So obviously they're not going to have her, but Kennedy Carter did lead the way for the team in that one, at least as scoring was concerned. She had 26 points, 11 of 16 shooting from the floor. In that game, they shot the Sky as a team, shot 47% from the floor, including 43% from three in that game. Only 18 turnovers in that game. They forced Atlanta into 18 turnovers. That's the most recent time they played. They played I believe it's just one other time. I'm going to make sure that I'm not missing one. Yes, they've played one other time this season, back on June 8th, and Atlanta won that one. That one was in Chicago. Atlanta won that one 89-80. So both teams, that was Chicago got off to a terrible start offensively, only 15 points in the first quarter. The Dream, meanwhile, put up almost 30. They put up 29 in the first quarter in that one and just never looked back. Chicago never had the lead beyond very early on in the first quarter. I think Chicago led that one. I'm sorry. I did miss a game there. I'm sorry. They had another game in July in Chicago that Chicago won 78-69. So they've played 3 times. Chicago has won 2 of them to this point. The most recent 2, Atlanta took the first one, and then Chicago has taken the most recent 2. So an opportunity here to clinch the season series against Atlanta, and then what's of far more importance at this point, obviously, is to put yourself back into the driver's seat for that 8th and final playoff spot in the WNBA. Now, I'm not going to try and pretend like if they make it to the playoffs, the Sky are going to be going terribly far this season. I wouldn't expect them to get past New York, who they're most likely to face, but they did beat New York in New York in a game earlier this season. So nothing's impossible. We'll put it that way. So couple of key games coming up for Chicago this week. The huge one tomorrow night down in Atlanta, taking on the Dream. And then should they win that one, then another effectively playoff match coming up on Thursday to close out the regular season out in Connecticut against the Sun. So we'll see. Hopefully next week we will still be talking Chicago Sky. Hopefully we'll be able to do a little bit of a playoff preview for them. All right, we're going to take one last break, and then on the way back, the latest AP poll came out for college football, and there's not one but 2 Illinois schools that made the list. We will talk about that next. You are listening to Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We will be right back after this.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Davidson.
It's your boy Dentarius Lava.
And we are the hosts of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, where we discuss everything in the world of basketball from prep to the pros.
You guys should definitely check us out, man. Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We got all the basketball information you guys need, so we look forward to you guys listening in.
And please do, because we are the best basketball show on this side of the Mississippi. And please do check us out on Twitter at FastBreakISR. D-Lock, where's our time again?
8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That give you guys plenty of time on a Sunday.
Tune in.
Hey sports fans, are you in the market for Florida sports or just keeping up with the latest in the Panhandle? Palm Tree Sports is a dedicated audio hub to all things sports in the Sunshine State. We cover current events, big news, heavily favored opinions all across the NFL, NBA, MLB, and so much more. So come check us out every Saturday evening at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for a down south education on Florida sports and athletics. It's hosted by yours truly, Corey Pujols, and is powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Welcome back on into Chi-Town Weekly here, everybody. I am your host, Adam Karnick. Couple more minutes left in the show here tonight before we turn things over to Taryn Rodriguez and Set Point, getting us caught up on everything happening in the world of volleyball. I know he is prepping right now and is getting ready to go. We had some big things happen in the college football landscape over the weekend. We will start with Illinois in the Big Ten. Illinois is now 3-0 on the season with a nice win, 30-9 over Central Michigan at home. So Illinois 3-0 now on the season, getting some nice things done. Never trailed in the game, led the whole way, as you would hope that a Big Ten school would do against a MAC opponent. No offense to the MAC, they're a great conference, but the Big Ten is just better. Even the bottom rungs of the Big Ten should be hanging out and doing better things than a mid-tier MAC school should at this point. Altmaier was 19 of 29 for 242 yards and a couple of scores. And his favorite target on the day, Pat Bryant, on the day, 7 catches for 102 yards and both touchdown passes caught by Pat Bryant. So Illinois had itself a good day and gets rewarded by the AP poll, and they are ranked 24th overall. Not to be outdone then, Northern Illinois had the week off, but apparently that game over Notre Dame was impressive enough that the people that do the AP poll looked at it and decided that, combined with some other schools losing, that Northern Illinois would be ranked. And they are actually in front of Illinois. They are 23rd in the nation. So Northern Illinois is 23. Illinois is 24. Some great things happening there for collegiate football in the state of Illinois, both with the university and then with Northern Illinois. Northwestern had itself a good weekend also, 31-7 over Eastern. Now that's one, though, again, they should absolutely be taking care of business and should absolutely be winning those kinds of games. You should not be it should not be close for Northwestern against Eastern Illinois. That should be one that Northwestern wins and wins handily. So Northwestern improves itself to 2-1 on the season. So taking a look at the Big Ten overall, my gosh, just so many schools in this. But Illinois right there at the top. They haven't played any conference games. The Fighting Illini haven't played any conference games yet. So Indiana and Michigan State are both in front because they've both won conference games already over Maryland and UCLA, respectively. But Illinois is right there. You've got Nebraska in there as well, and they're ranked 22nd. And then, of course, the big ones, Oregon, Ohio State, and Penn State. They are all undefeated as well. Though Ohio State and Penn State had the week off, so USC as well ranked in the top 15 there. But USC, Penn State, and Ohio State all had the week off, so they're only 2-0. Oregon is the only one right now that's 3, and it's Oregon, Nebraska, and Illinois are the ranked schools at 3-0 inside the Big Ten. So some good things happening overall there. Illinois now this week, they've got a test for themselves right away. Some Friday night college football action down in Nebraska. A big one against the Cornhuskers, 7 o'clock on Fox. Number 22, Nebraska, and number 24, Illinois. Obviously, whichever school loses that one is going to drop out of the rankings, but it should be a good opportunity for Illinois. Keep building some momentum, keep things moving in the right way, and hey, you win that one. A road win down in Nebraska, they could wind up cracking the top 20 this week if they hang on to that one and they win that one. It will not get much easier after that, though. The following week they're at Penn State, but we'll worry about that another time. It could make for a terrific showdown with Penn State, though, down in Happy Valley the following week if Illinois goes into that 4-0 and Penn State comes into that one 3-0. Let's take a look. Who does Penn State have this week? Penn State will be taking on Kent State. So winless Kent State, that should be an easy one then for the Nittany Lions to come away with that victory. Excuse me, I needed to take a quick drink there. I apologize. That should be an easy victory for Penn State. So that could make for a very interesting matchup here in a couple weeks. But for Illinois, you can't be looking at that. You've got to be focused on Nebraska. First of all, you've got to take care of your business against the Cornhuskers this Friday night. Some Friday night college football action. Hopefully, Illinois will get that one done, and we'll then have a big one to showcase then next week. Meanwhile, Northwestern this week is heading out west to take on Washington. That game will be on Saturday. Yes, that game will be Saturday, 6 o'clock Saturday night out in Washington, Roma Dunes' former stomping grounds. We'll see how Northwestern does in that big traditional Big Ten matchup, Northwestern versus Washington. Yeah, we just love all the realignment stuff going on, folks. Of course we do. Of course we do. Well, let's just take a peek. Also, let's take a look at what Northern Illinois has got going on this week then as well. Northern Illinois starts its MAC conference play Saturday afternoon, 2:30, hosting Buffalo, hosting Patty Bax's Buffalo Bulls. She was at the Buffalo Bulls game this past week. I know she'll be planning on talking about that in her show tomorrow, so we'll have some fun there. You can catch the Buffalo Huddle tomorrow night. That'll be at 6 o'clock Central Time. You can catch that. I'm sure she will be talking about that game and a little bit of preview there with Northern Illinois. So we'll see. So starting the MAC conference play, a convincing win there. We'll see if Northern Illinois climbs the rankings much there from 23. You know, if they have a convincing win, and depending on how other things go, they could wind up cracking the top 20. So we could potentially, a week from now, depending on how things go and how things play themselves out, we could have 2 football programs inside the AP, not just top 25, but inside the AP top 20 next week to be talking about. So we may have to be paying a little bit of closer attention to college football here on this show here the coming weeks. We will see how things unfold this week. Couple of quick notes before we get out of here. One, a more somber one, and one a bit more backhanded compliment. Let's just call it what it is, because we're gonna real quick. Both baseball teams in town, the Cubs. My goodness, their understanding of must win and mine are 2 very different things as they're taking on the Oakland Athletics tonight. Now they are crushing the A's tonight, 8-2 after 3 innings. Javier Assad, Shota Imanaga tonight. Imanaga, 3 innings, 2 runs, already 6 strikeouts for him, and the Cubs offense just blasting A's pitching right now through 3 innings. Some good things there, but it's way too little, way too late for the Cubs. They went into Colorado this past weekend and dropped 2 of 3 to the Rockies. You cannot do that when you are in must-win mode. So as we look at it right now, the Cubs are officially 5 back of the wild card spot, but they are done. They are dead. A very disappointing season for the Cubs there in that regard. It really doesn't matter what they do the rest of the way here. They are done. Stick a fork in them. The White Sox, though, they won a series for the first time in 3 months. The Chicago White Sox won a series, taking back-to-back games Saturday and Sunday over the Oakland A's to win a series for the first time since the end of June. It took them 2.5 months to win a series again. The White Sox, as we sit here today, are 35-115. They're still almost certainly going to set the record for most losses in a season as they're getting ready to start a 3-game series with the Angels tonight. And then they'll be taking on the Padres again. They'll be taking the Padres on out west before they host the Angels again next week and then finish things up with the Detroit Tigers. You know the Tigers, if there's any opportunity for the Tigers to give the White Sox that 121st loss, they're going to do everything in their power to make that happen. But congratulations, White Sox. You won a series for the first time in almost 3 months. That is going to do it for our show here tonight. Thank you again to our sponsor, Planet Jerky Premium Christmas Jerky. Jerky is on a whole other planet. You can place your orders by going planetnutrition.net. You can also follow them on Instagram. You can follow them on Instagram at Planet Nutrition. So go to planetnutrition.net place for order. They are offering shipping on all orders of $6 and above. And also thank you to Steel to Deal Wax Steel. Thank you for your sponsorship of the show. We greatly appreciate it. You can follow them on Instagram at @steel_wax steel. You can also place your order by going to iesportsradio.com. That's also where you can check out merchandise at the IE Sports Radio shop. You can also check out this show, iesportsradio.com/site. And you can look about me and catch up on the episodes you missed. Thank you to Larry D, star and overlord of all things IE Sports Radio. Thank you for all the hard work you do, sir. It does not go unnoticed, nor does it go unappreciated. Thank you to everybody that hung out in the chat room with me tonight. Wes Trueblood, Kathy Karnick, Larry D, Karen Rodriguez. Karen pointing out that next week will be episode number 200 for this show. I know, it's hard to believe. I mean, this show is this small. We've got some special stuff lined up and planned up. We will see what it is. Of course, people will be reacting. Of course, the players hope as well. So stick around for that. Finally, thank you for listening. Whether you've heard all 199 episodes at this point or if this is the first one, thank you for making part of the team. Like the show, let people know about it. You can live on Monday night, or of course you can follow along on anywhere you get your podcast, Breaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, anywhere you get your podcast. See everybody next week. Bear down.